have reached the fifth and final game of the preliminary round of the 2014 FIBA Basketball World Cup. And before the U.S. men's senior team leaves for Barcelona, one last game in Bilbao facing the Ukraine. With Fran Fraschilla, I'm Mark Kestisher. Yesterday's United States victory moved them to 4-0, and they clinched Group C. But Fran, as we take a look at the group standings, it is the teams beneath the U.S. with the New Zealand win a short time ago. A lot of teams, really four teams playing for three spots.
Well, exactly. And Turkey, Dominican Republic, one of those teams will be 3-2. They'll move safely on. Lots of crunching numbers today, but for Team USA, it's about continuity, cohesion, and getting that guard play to play at the level the way the big guys have reacted so far.
Yeah, that's been one of the big storylines. Derrick Rose off the bench, expected to play in a third consecutive game in 3 days, and he spoke earlier with our Bob Holtzman.
Derrick, you told me the other day you didn't think you'd played 5 games in 6 days since your AAU days.
Yeah.
I got to ask you your favorite question. How are your knees?
They're good. Just trying to take it one day at a time. Just trying to put my knees behind me. I know the question is always going to come up, but just trying to get used to it. People are concerned, but I'm feeling fine.
How's your game?
The game is good. I think we're winning games. That's the only thing that matters. Of course, just getting in the rhythm, that's my biggest concern. Pushing the ball, playing defense, and no turnovers. That's what I'm trying to do when I'm out there.
Thanks, Derrick.
Thank you.
Derrick Rose will come off the bench once again as we look at the United States starting lineup. Coach Mike Krzyzewski rolling out the same starting 5. Kenneth Faried and Anthony Davis had so much success. They're the top 2 scorers for Team USA. For the Ukraine, they are coached by former Hawks, Cavaliers, and Grizzlies head coach Mike Fratello. Eugene Pooh Jeter leads the way, a United States born in Los Angeles, raised in California, but a naturalized Ukrainian.
Exactly. One of the 6 or 7 naturalized players on rosters in this tournament. Played in Kiev, now plays in China, and a big part of the Ukraine success in qualifying for the FIBA World Cup this summer.
And Mike Fratello also opting for Slava Kravtsov, who is on the Phoenix Suns roster. He will start at center, going a little big, getting his 7-footer in and going up against the bigs of the United States, who've been so impressive through the first 4 games of this preliminary round.
Well, they really have, and we've talked about Faried and Davis, and then DeMarcus Cousins with another solid performance yesterday. And quite frankly, Mark, I think it's time for the guard play to gel, to crystallize, if you will. The shooting has been pedestrian from behind that shorter arc. And this would be good to see Team USA come out here today with some edge as they leave tonight after the game and head to Madrid.
Slovenia, Philippines, Cameroon, the nationalities of our officiating crew. And underway, the United States in the blue uniforms once again, taking on a Ukraine squad at 2-2 in the preliminaries. James Harden finding Faried, missing on his first attempt. A rare miss from Kenneth Faried so far.
Well, Ukraine is still without one of their best players, Sergei Gladier, who sprained his ankle early in the second game of pool play, and they've really been hampered by his absence.
And Faried that time knocking that one away from Maxim Kornienko out of bounds.
Well, Faried and Davis have really put a lid on the rim in Pool C play. Another opportunity to add to his block shot total.
That's got to be tough in the opening minutes for Kornienko. He went opposite hand on a hook shot.
Yep.
And got it swatted away.
You'll see from Ukraine a lot of NBA type offensive sets, shot clock violation right there. Also the same defensively. I think the big thing that you and I have touched on throughout this tournament, the shorter 3-point line. And quite frankly, Team USA, you know, still struggling from behind the arc, only shooting 33% or so with that shorter line.
Steph Curry missing. The United States 0-2, but defensively a block shot and forced a violation. Kornienko missing. Loose ball underneath, and a foul against Kenneth Faried. That'll be his first.
Alexander Lipovy, their small forward, young player. One time thought to be a draft prospect, but good, long, athletic, 6'6" wing player, shooting guard, small forward for Mike Fratello, who's done a terrific job with this country's team since taking over in 2011.
And here's Pooh Jeter, played collegiately at Portland, stripped away, second steal by the U.S. And Curry's feet inside. Karam's off the foot of Jeter, out of bounds. Let's take a look at the three-point shooting for the United States team here so far in the preliminary.
Yeah, and it's surprising, quite frankly. You know, when you think of the type of shooting that's on this roster, and the fact that the line is, you know, a good foot and a half closer.
And if Fareed kicks out to Harden, here's a three late in the shot clock, and Jeter has the rebound for Ukraine.
See the strategy there. They were going to double Fareed and force the kick out and the contested shot.
Feed inside. Slava Kratsov turns with a left hand, overshot. Fareed has the ball. U.S. trying to pick up the pace as Irving is fouled and will get to the free throw line. Jeter will pick up his first.
Well, we've talked about Kyrie Irving, who I think has been as consistent as any perimeter player for Mike Krzyzewski over the first 5 games. His ability to knock down jump shots and also use that great quickness and strength to get to the rim as he gets ready for his 3rd NBA season with the Cleveland Cavaliers. A little different than a year ago.
Yes. Fran, at the risk of being too picky for a team that has had blowouts and 4 straight wins for Mike Krzyzewski, the slow starts, is it getting up for these games? Most of the crowds have really been for the other team. Ukraine has been a favorite in Spain, considering what's going on politically back at home. The slow start's the concern.
Well, I think it is a concern because, and it's very easy to overlook it when you look at the scoring margin Team USA has had. They've certainly, other than 1 half versus Turkey, where they were scared straight, if you will, they pretty much know they're going to win these games. But it's about the process of getting ready for the knockout round.
Jeter, a long three, and Ukraine still not on the board in the opening 2.5 minutes. Here's the pull-up from Curry, missing. And what's at stake for Ukraine? Not only, I mean, the chances of winning are very low, but they need to not lose by a big amount of points.
Exactly.
They actually have a -1 right now in their points scored versus points allowed. And if there's a big tiebreak, that's going to be the decider.
Well, exactly. They don't want it to be -51 after today as Lipovic hits that floater. You know, that last possession by Team USA, that could be over and back.
And that's the call.
You know, the thing that is disconcerting is just the lack of ball movement right now. And that's probably what Coach K is saying right there. You know, lots of dribbling, not a lot of movement. Steph Curry came down and took a contested shot without giving that ball up. They haven't really given defenses a chance to work side to side. Now, their defense is going to open up great scoring opportunities in transition, but you cannot count on that as you get closer to the medal round.
Kornienko driving the lane, kicks out to Lipovic, and he misses on the 3.
Yeah, this is not a great shooting Ukraine team by any stretch. So they really have to maximize those open looks if they want to stay in this game. U.S.
0 for 4 to start in their 2nd turnover here in the opening 3.5 minutes.
You know what, the shame is that if Sergei Gladier was healthy, this team would likely be 3-1 right now.
Jeter, a deep 2 missing. Kratsov gets the long rebound and gets fouled on his way up to the basket. There's a look at Gladier.
Yep. Drafted a few years ago, outstanding shooter. Slava Kravtsov was not drafted, but found his way onto the Pistons roster a couple of years ago, then the Phoenix Suns this past year. He's been released since and looking for a team. He was injured at the end of last season, and he was not able to play for any teams in the Orlando or Las Vegas Summer Leagues. As you take a look at Mike Fratello, Bob Hill,
that's right,
former NBA head coach, also
Joe Wolf on this coaching staff.
So Slava's a big, strong kid. He's basically a backup center in the NBA, but he's finally healthy after enduring some wrist injuries, I believe. And I had a chance to coach him at the Reebok Euro Camp. He was actually on my team, and good kid, good screener. English is pretty good. That helped me out a lot.
U.S. went wire to wire yesterday. They are down early as Curry misses on the long jumper. 6 minutes, or rather 4 minutes in, and only 2 points. both at the free throw line for the United States in their final preliminary game before the knockout round begins for the U.S. in Barcelona on Saturday. Pass inside is stolen. Third turnover. Kyrie's going to keep it himself, and an offensive foul. They wave off the bucket. And that's the second foul on Kyrie Irving.
Well, whether this is a good call or not, Kyrie Irving had the 2-on-1, and he needs to drop that pass off right there. See, he made the defender commit, and that's an easy pass. In fact, it's even easier when Anthony Davis is running the lane, but he had a golden opportunity to lob that ball. Now, Steph Curry is face guarding Pooh Jeter right here, so Team USA is going to play 4-on-4 and try to keep Jeter from catching the basketball. That's exactly what Curry's doing right there.
Derrick Rose getting set to check into the game. Nice pump fake, and they'll count the bucket. Slava Kravtsov as Anthony Davis picks up his first.
Davis has been very good in this tournament at staying on the ground and jumping second. Here's a nice dish. And that was more about Kravtsov using his body and just taking it right through the defender.
Slava Kravtsov, you pointed out, not on the roster at the moment, but was on the Suns. Alex Len, a young Phoenix Suns player, also yes. Ukrainian, but opted not to play for Team Ukraine.
Well, and he endured lots of injuries his senior year at Maryland. Not his senior year, his last year at Maryland, and then his rookie year. So there you see, Mexico wins. They will advance and be the first opponent for Team USA on Saturday in Madrid.
Well, they call the foul on Lipovy there. That'll be his first.
You know, you're not going to remember all these names, but Kornienko, who started, was from the same club as Alex Len when Alex was a young player. And you remember Patrick Beverly, who's now doing some
with the Rockets.
Yep. When Patrick left Arkansas, as James Harden scores, he left before the start of his senior year due to some academic issues at Arkansas, and his first professional job was in the Ukraine, and he and Kornienko became very good friends, even though neither one understood the other's language.
How about Pooh Jeter getting inside against Fareed to score?
Pooh had
9-4.
Yeah, he had a cup of coffee with the Sacramento Kings.
Rose accelerating to the basket, goes out of bounds, and they'll say it's Ukraine basketball.
Pooh Jeter is a naturalized Ukrainian, which in FIBA means that on your roster you can have one naturalized citizen at a time. Now, Spain, for example, has Serge Ibaka. Ukraine has commandeered the services of Pooh Jeter.
Now, you were telling me earlier, once you commit to a team as a naturalized citizen, like Pooh Jeter now could no longer play for Team USA.
That's correct.
Ineligible.
That's correct.
But it's a great way if you feel you might never be able to crack a roster where it's all NBA All-Stars.
Yes.
You've got an opportunity to play
nice
in this tournament or in the Olympics. And the second United States field goal right there from Anthony Davis.
That's what we call a pocket pass right there. Little left-handed pass that came from the side of James Harden. If he had pockets on those shorts, that's where it would have come from.
Jeter circling around. Look for Kornienko and finds him for the bucket. Getting some interior baskets here. The Jeter penetration has really disrupted the United States defense.
Well, and again, Team USA is already, this is pretty much a meaningless game for them in many ways.
Anthony Davis from outside. Kornienko has the rebound for Ukraine. And on the other end, an important game for Mike Fratello's squad. Trying to make the knockout round. Jeter. Contact from behind. Fareed, outlet for Rose. Rose against Kornienko. But a flush from Anthony Davis.
Well, you like it when your bigs run the floor, and that's what Davis and Fareed have done since the start of this tournament. He could have let up at half court, but he was able to be down there and finish.
Well, Tim Duncan move from Slava Kravtsov hitting the glass. He's got 7, so the czar, Mike Fratello, went with Kravtsov in his starting lineup, and that has paid dividends for the Ukraine.
Little zone now by the Ukraine, trying to throw the curveball at Team USA, keep them off balance a little bit.
A reminder, the FIBA World Cup round of 16 is going to tip off on Saturday, and at 10 a.m. Eastern time, the United States against either Mexico or Angola. Mexico in front late in the first quarter. All games live on ESPN3 and the Watch ESPN app. Group C winners, the Team USA in Barcelona, and they will take on either Angola or Mexico. So 10 a.m. Eastern on Saturday.
And Mexico is the reigning FIBA Americas champion from 2013, led by Gustavo Ayón, formerly of the Atlanta Hawks.
Cousins wrapped up by Kirill Natasko, just checked in for the Ukraine. That's number 1 on Natasko.
Played his college basketball at the University of Arizona for Sean Miller.
Now, Natasko had written a piece, first-person piece that he put out online, speaking about what's going on in the eastern regions of Ukraine and how they finished in 6th in the Eurobasket last year as Klay Thompson hits. How big that was for the Ukraine, for this team to make FIBA. They thought they would be making the headlines this year, and obviously an even bigger story with what's going on in Ukraine with the Russian separatists, but they're trying to at least take everyone's mind off it for a couple hours when they play.
A number of these young men come from the eastern part of the country, so that really weighs on their mind. Checkpoints and tanks and things of that nature, that's reality to them right now.
Natasko was saying he's a Russian speaker. It's nice job by Derrick Rose to get in. There's Russian speakers, Ukrainian speakers on the team, but it has not broken up the team. Still very cohesive unit playing for their national flag.
You know, the Ukraine was scheduled to host Eurobasket 2015, which was a huge deal for their country, but that's not going to happen right now. Nice back cut.
Pass down the lane. Kornienko not there, but Lipovi with the tip in.
Right now, Mike Fratello's got to be pleased with the effort and the intensity. And remember, scoring margin is a big factor for them if they're to advance.
Yeah, the first tiebreaker is head-to-head, but we could have more than a two-way finish for the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th places in Group C. Before the United States and Ukraine played New Zealand with a 2-point victory. Great feat from Cousins. Thompson can't finish. Spirited play by the Ukraine. Cousins kind of swatting inside. I think they're going to catch DeRozan on this foul. So DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah, Coach K is going to probably be way more liberal in terms of using that 12-man roster today, because everything is essentially moot at this point, other than winning the game and winning it correctly, I would add.
The United States is over the foul limit, and so Maxim Kornienko will go to the free throw line for the Ukraine. There's a look at the czar of the telestrator, now the czar of the Ukrainian basketball team. Took over in 2011. You had mentioned yesterday, for folks who might have missed it, Alexander Volkov, who played for him in Atlanta with the Hawks as the head of the Ukrainian Federation.
Correct. And Alexander, that relationship started when he played. Alexander Volkov was a great player for the old Soviet Union with Marciulionis and Sabonis, Kurtinitis. And the Atlanta Hawks took a trip to Russia to play some exhibition games. Do you remember how Ted Turner was very much at the forefront of the globalization of sports, Goodwill games? Yep. And so the relationship with Volkov started then. He was a role player for Mike Fratello in Atlanta, but he calls him one of his sons. And when the Ukrainian Federation was looking for a coach, and they found a guy obviously with incredible experience, 700 near wins in the NBA, 450 win seasons as an NBA head coach, and now he's an expert because he doesn't lose any games.
That's right, Dave.
From the broadcast side.
Best way to go. Rudy Gay, great spin move, but then fouled, and again over the limit. So free throws coming here in the late stages of the first quarter. Kirill Natasko, 6'10", plays his professional basketball in Lithuania. The Ukraine with a 5-point lead with under a minute to go in the first. This matches the largest deficit for the United States in the tournament, the Turkey game, in which they didn't pull away till late in the third, early fourth quarter. Now, as Fran, you've pointed out, this is not a game that means anything for the United States. We've seen in other groups, specifically Group D, where Australia lost today, And as Klay Thompson hits there, they're playing for first, second, third. Slovenia, Lithuania play later tonight. It's a little bit of gamesmanship after Australia didn't really try to win that game.
They looked like the Washington Generals in the second half. They had a 10-point lead, but we'll get into the strategy behind that. That's typically FIBA of trying to manipulate where you finish, especially because in this tournament, the two overwhelming favorites, as you see, Cousins on the block, are Spain and the U.S. So you do not want to finish in second place in the opposite pool from either team. And Australia, let's face it, they were up 10 at the half. They rested their key guys. And Angola behind a great performance, by the way, from Yannick Moreira. 38 points, 15 rebounds. He'll be a senior this year for Larry Brown at SMU. He was outstanding. He had 4 points, I think, at the half, or 6, and ended up with 38.
Final shot for the Ukraine. Mishula in and out. Rebound to Gay, and that's the end of the first. Only 14 first-quarter points for the United States. And at the end of one, the Ukraine with the lead in Bilbao. 10 minutes for the United States, already the Group C winners, but Ukraine playing for a spot in the round of 16 with a 19-14 lead. First time the Americans have trailed after the first 10 minutes of any of these preliminary games.
This looks like one of those old Cleveland Cavaliers teams that Mike Fratello coached, controlling the tempo.
And an offensive foul. It's going to be against Natyasko.
Right,
let's look at Group D. Explain this, Fran.
Well, it's crazy because Australia essentially gave the game away, in my opinion, today, because had they won, Lithuania would have had the incentive to lose that game versus Slovenia today. Now, instead, Lithuania now can win the pool and capture first place, and if they lose, they capture third place. And had Australia won, Lithuania would have thrown the game versus Slovenia. There's no question. So they could finish third.
So now Australia is banking on Lithuania playing for the group.
And
that
beating
would knock Slovenia to second.
That's right.
And you'd have the coveted third spot. It's coveted because you wouldn't have to face the United States till the semis.
Exactly. And when you get a chance to get to the semis versus either Spain or the USA, you at least have a chance of, barring a major upset, of winning a medal in the third place games. That
was Ihor Zaitsev knocking in a triple there. Here's Rose up and under in the lane with a spectacular move.
Yeah, this is great for Derrick Rose. You know, I know he's going to hear it all season about how he's feeling, but you know, the other thing I've been impressed with is with Derrick Rose, and we've had a chance to talk to him a lot, how calm he is about handling the same questions day by day.
And he's expecting it early in the NBA season, too, as Mishula misses on a three and Rose is there for the rebound. This is probably the best and most spry he has looked, and this is the 5th game in 6 days as Thompson misses on a three. I think some of it's motivating, too. I think he's just feeling really good.
Well, I agree.
Yeah.
And you know what? He's not playing heavy minutes because Coach K's done a good job of sharing the wealth.
Natyasko, the fake and the score. How about the Ukraine continuing to score up 4 points?
Ukraine has played. They're just packing it in, really. They'll try to double in the post if they can.
Cousins against Natyasko, and he stops him again.
Yep. Good job by Natyasko. Referee said he was vertical to the ceiling.
And a strip ball that time. Rudy Gay got a hand in. U.S. trying to run. Ukraine's done a nice job getting back. And there's the foul by Pustavvanov. That is his second. Derrick Rose, let's look at the numbers. Went for 23 minutes in the first game.
Yep.
The numbers not telling the story really, but they did decline the 3 games after.
He is just trying to get his rhythm back. That's really what this is. And if it didn't happen now, it would have happened in training camp and some of those exhibition games. And he's got Tom Thibodeau with him. He's getting great medical treatment. So I think this is a bonus for the Bulls to get him on the court in the manner that he has played, you know, in this tournament.
Remember, our training camps are going to open 10 to 14 days after the U.S. senior team returns back to the States, and he will be way ahead of the curve than he normally would be heading
from
into
his
an
standpoint.
offseason. From his standpoint, especially.
Because of the injuries, no doubt.
Hey, you know, while DeMarcus Cousins just got a good run there, yesterday in a blowout game, kind of got lost in the shuffle off the bench, went 5 for 5, 13 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 steals. Some spirited play early on before heading back out for Coach K. He's really been that number 3 big guy for Coach K heading into this knockout round.
There's no doubt, and that has become this team's strength, really.
And the foul looked like Davis got called for the arm bar, and that'll be his second. 2 fouls on Anthony Davis.
I think what Davis, Fareed, and Cousins have shown is that in a projected matchup with Spain, when you talk about the Gasols and Serge Ibaka, it's not necessarily going to be a strength for Spain. It may end up being a draw, but you're talking about a couple or 3 of the best young players in the NBA that will be going up against that Spanish front line that we've been talking about. And I have said this, Mark, and I stick with this. Spain is the favorite if they met in a gold medal game. I'd have to check with my people out west, you know.
Right.
But I think the fact that the game is in Madrid is
swings it a little bit.
It's an 8-point advantage. Now, Team USA obviously is extremely talented and can win that game and likely will win that game. But talking about playing in Madrid in a gold medal game with all the passion in that arena that day, I would say Spain would be the slight favorite.
And Spain, of course, the winners in Group A in Granada. They've got a game against Serbia later tonight as the preliminary round comes to a close.
Now, the other thing about this particular game for Team USA, keep in mind that they've got to play Saturday. And they have to fly tonight after this game from Bilbao. It's about an hour flight to Madrid.
Barcelona.
I'm sorry. Well, they're going to be going from Bilbao to Barcelona.
Correct.
Yep. And you want to keep everybody fresh because you're playing in 2 days. And then when you play Saturday, you'll be off until Tuesday. So they'll have some time to regroup and shine up some things, both offensively and defensively. But Coach K's going to make sure that nobody gets tired today.
2-point lead for Ukraine. The United States will head to Barcelona, the Palau San Jordi, where FC Barcelona calls home. And they will stay there until the medal game, which will be played in Madrid for the Group C, D teams. Ukraine with a 2-point lead. College football on ABC continues on Saturday. 14th ranked USC against number 13 Stanford. First top 15 matchup of the year in the first Pac-12 game of the season. That's Saturday at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific time on ABC.
David Shaw's got another huge offensive line for the Cardinal.
And Steve Sarkisian knows all too well when he had his Washington teams go up against Stanford. So looking forward to taking USC there for the first time as Mike Fratello doing a little pacing here. The Ukraine beat the Dominican Republic, lost a tough one to Finland. That was the game Sergei Gladier went down and has not been back since. They beat Turkey, got 40 points off the bench, and then lost to New Zealand. That's another tough one. Now forcing Ukraine not only to have to win, which is monumental odds, but to not lose by too many points as Kyrie Irving hits the topside 3.
We've chronicled Kyrie Irving's continued proficiency from behind the arc. He doesn't shoot a lot of them, but he's 5 for 10 now in his 5 games from behind that arc.
That's the first 3-pointer of the entire game. U.S. had been 0 for 4. Ukraine is 0 for 8. It also tied the game at 25, and the U.S. now looking for the lead. Harden fouled on his way down the middle, and Alexander Meshula.
One thing we've seen from Team USA is no matter how hard you try to stay in the game with them, at some point you've got to keep them out of that 12-14-0 run. And the Turkey game is a great example. 17-1 run at the end of the 3rd, start of the 4th. Otherwise, that's essentially an even game over the course of 40 minutes.
That was the 4th team foul in the quarter against Ukraine. It'll be a baseline inbounds, but right now Alexander Lipovy and James Harden grappling. Kyrie Irving saying, let's go for sportsmanship here. Off the inbound, Harden. And the rebound to Slava Kratsov.
He's having a nice game today. Good job on the glass. Pujetter hasn't got it going yet. Can't see that play right there? In the NBA or college, a guy would be calling timeout.
Right.
Yeah. Can't do that in FIBA rules. Ball's live.
Only dead ball timeouts called by the coach.
I like that rule. Wouldn't help with commercial time back here in the States, of course.
Now the officials heading over to the scorer's table. Just trying to get the spot of the inbound.
Hey, by the way,
yeah, go ahead.
How about Philippines today beating Senegal in overtime? And that's not a big deal to a lot of people, but the Philippines, they love their basketball there. It's like Indiana Hoosier basketball, you know. And they beat Senegal after 4 excruciating losses in pool play. One of my favorite players in the tournament, Jimmy Alapeg.
Yes, that kid can shoot.
He's not a kid either, but
he's a kid to me.
Yeah. But kudos to the Philippines. That's a huge win today for their country. And
that was another country with a naturalized citizen, Andre Blatch.
Yeah, led a good
from
tournament.
Syracuse, New York area, playing for the Philippines.
And you know what? There's a great article in Grantland about Andre Blatch and Philippines basketball. It's a must-read. There's that travel again. You know, for the life of me, some of them are obvious.
That's picking.
That's picky right there. Yep.
So off the turnover, the Ukraine and the United States tied at 25 as we hit the 5-minute mark. We're watching Korea right now with a 2-point lead. The winner of that game will face Team USA in the round of 16 as Jeter gets the bucket.
I think Angola.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, Angola would advance if not Mexico.
Korea's 0-4. So Angola is 2-3 with the win, quote unquote, against Australia earlier today.
Oh, they'll take it.
So if Mexico falls, it would be Angola who would head on to the round of 16 against the U.S. 7 for Kyrie Irving has tied this game at 27 as we hit 4.5 minutes to go in the first half. U.S. arrived in Bilbao in the early morning hours last Saturday. Kornienko on the long drive and will be making the short flight to Barcelona after the conclusion of this game. Still awaiting who they'll be facing in the round of 16. 10 a.m. Eastern Saturday. Irving behind the screen. Knew he had missed. Chased it down. Saved by Harden. Long 3 for Curry. And he hits it. First U.S. lead since 2-0.
Took advantage of good offensive rebounding right there. Kicked it out.
Bodies fly underneath.
And that's a break, and that's a break for Ukraine. Anytime you are in the bonus and get a chance to shoot a couple free ones, that's the rebound. A good kick out by Kenneth Faried. Steph Curry, who has not shot the ball well in this tournament. I'll take my chances with that look. One of the best shooters in the NBA and really in the world when he is on.
First half. The United States in Bilbao, Spain, with a 3-point lead over the Ukraine on a Steph Curry 3-pointer. Mike Krzyzewski's team already knows it'll be the top seed in Group C and therefore will play the 4th and final qualifier at a Group D to start the round of 16 knockout round on Saturday. Off the inbound, 3-pointer missing from Lipovy, but an offensive tip out. Ukraine is 0 for 10 from 3-point land, so they'll load up the big man Slava Kratsov, who gets the foul from Anthony Davis, score the bucket. Pujetter's dad enjoying his Ukraine team.
And Pujetter does have a connection to Team USA, but it's not the basketball team. It's their track team. Sister Carmelita is a gold medal, world-class 100-meter sprinter. She got the silver in London and also was part of that 4x100 gold medal team.
Picked up a bronze in the 200-meter as well. I'd like to see that race. Who wins, Carmelita or Pooh?
They have discussed that. They have
discussed they not done it? They've only discussed it?
They have only discussed it, to my knowledge, when I've been told.
Pooh, the older brother, 30 years old.
He will play in Shandong this year, which
he
in
said,
China.
He said that going to China and the CBA
Yes.
was the turning point of his career. He was like, everybody should do this.
Well, they pay a lot of money in China compared to the Ukraine and
that is true. Maybe that's what he was referring to.
He also has his own shoe deal. I mean, he wears Li Ning's, which Dwayne Wade wears Li Ning's.
Right.
And so he's a big deal in China.
Dwayne has a lot of ties in China too,
Yeah.
as does LeBron and a lot of high-profile NBA players.
But Puget is a very, very popular player in China. It's a shorter season as well, so there's less wear and tear on these guys' bodies, and they pay very, very well.
Shorter season, more money.
Yes.
Equals smart decision.
Exactly. And shoe deal. Throw that in.
Here's Harden. Great fake over Kornienko and score the basket.
Okay, so this is the MO. Harden drives. He shows the ball to the defender, then swipes at it. Harden finishes the shot. Take a look right here. Puts that ball out for Kornienko to bait him to reach in. And then there's the contact and the foul. Textbook James Harden.
I was going to say there's not many better shot creators in the NBA. The head fakes, the step backs.
Yes.
He's got the whole array. And the United States now in that three-point play with its largest lead of the game, up 5.
Jeter mentioned it's from Southern California, Gardena. He knows a lot of these guys pretty well. You mentioned to me, right?
Right, DeMarcus Cousins
They
back on the floor.
were rookies together. He knows James Harden very well from back home.
Lining it up, Dmytro Zebrachenko making a triple for Zebrachenko.
You know, the pace of this game for the Ukraine is absolutely perfect. They're going to hold Team USA, barring a big run, under 50. And, you know, I mentioned earlier, they're not a great three-point shooting team. That's been proven. But had they made a couple more shots, they're only 1 for 11. You know, this would have a different complexion this game.
And Steph Curry splashing one right back for the U.S.
Mike Fratello, I believe, has got the 2 timeouts left that he can use. He's got to use them to keep Team USA out of a quick, long 2.5-minute run.
Zebrachenko into a double team. Lipovy had it stripped away. Cousins came up with it. 7th steal. And the whistle, both teams had hit the limit, so free throws coming for the United States as Pujetter's going to pick up his second.
That was a good foul. Stopped Team USA in transition. Pujetter now has to be a little more cautious with the 2. See Tom Thibodeau right there.
And his Chicago Bull point guard, Derrick Rose, playing 5 games in 6 days. If you missed the Bob Holtzman interview earlier, talking about hadn't done that since his AAU days, as he continues to work back from the devastating knee injuries in each of the last 2 years. Jeter headed to the Ukrainian bench. Steph Curry headed to the free throw line. Mike Krzyzewski, as the head of United States basketball, 58 straight wins since that loss to Greece. We're including FIBA, Olympics, and exhibitions.
That loss to Greece came in the semifinals championships. Japan. First time he took over the national team and coached NBA players.
Halftime, Mexico leading Korea by 10. And again, a Mexico win, they would face the United States in Barcelona, round of 16 on Saturday. 10 a.m. Eastern.
Mexico led not only by Gustavo Ayón, but Jorge Gutierrez, who played Cal and now with the Brooklyn Nets.
That'll be a 24-second violation. Lipovy trying to beat the clock, missed the rim. And that Group D action going on in the Canary Islands. Look at the Ukrainian players. Again, if there's a 3-way tie, the second tiebreaker invoked would be point differential.
Right, goal average.
Goal average. They take points scored, divide it by total points
exactly
allowed. And we haven't done all the math because we need all the finals to come in. But if you look at point differential, which is a decent guide, Ukraine actually has the best right now. They're a -1. So that's why it would behoove them, if they're going to lose. Obviously, if they upset the United States, they punch their ticket. But if they were to lose, and only lose by, let's say, 10 or 15,
and
that makes all the difference.
And that's still a tall order.
Yes.
Yeah, because we have not seen.
You saw Turkey led by 5 at the half,
right,
and lost by 27.
Yeah, Team USA scored 63 in the second half in that game, and so you're in a situation right now where, again, Team USA's on a 7-0 run, and something that's got to be concerning to you if you're Mike Fratello, because his team has played very well in this first half, and they have certainly controlled the tempo of this game.
Harden's going to get called on that one. That'll be his first. Yeah, it's been a very slow and deliberate first half, as you pointed out, just the way Ukraine wants this to be played. As Zaberchenko will head to the free throw line. Ukraine in the FIBA rankings only 45th. They qualified for FIBA. This is the first time they qualified since the breakup of the Soviet Union. So that's why this was such a monumental event to get here.
Exactly. And we mentioned Alexander Volkov before, who's not only a great player, one of the great Soviet Union players of all time, but he's Ukrainian. He serves in parliament right now. He's the president of the Ukrainian Basketball Federation. And
Cousins cleaning up there.
Yep, and so it's been a very big deal for this country that obviously is in the news on a daily basis, and not the way you'd like to be. They're on the front page of the news and not necessarily in the sports section.
Yes, and taking a peek at the front page, not to get into the politics of it, but I know the NATO meeting in Wales, and there's talk of maybe a ceasefire in the eastern part of Ukraine, which certainly is weighing on all these players' minds, not only the fans back home who are watching, but the guys who've been away from home, wondering about friends and family as they play basketball in Spain. Klay Thompson, you've been talking about his defense.
Klay is one of the understated guys of his team. He's another one of those guys that people initially, if you don't watch Golden State, you don't watch the fact that he guards Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, James Harden. You don't appreciate this guy. You think of him more as a guy that's just a shooter and scorer.
Kenneth Faried with the elbow jumper.
But Klay Thompson is, again, he'll have a bigger impact the bigger the games get, because he'll have to become a defensive stopper for Team USA.
That's going to end the half, and the United States with 30 points in the second quarter. They outscore the Ukraine 30-13, and they've got a 12-point lead at half. 44-32, the U.S. leading at half in the preliminary final. United States at halftime, 44-32 over Ukraine. Kyrie Irving, 7 first-half points, spoke with our Bob Holtzman.
Kyrie, a 22-5 run there to end the first half, but yet another slow start for this team. What's going on?
I mean, we don't want to make any excuses. Just getting used to the daily grind of playing in World Cup basketball and pool play. We just didn't come out with the necessary energy in the first quarter, but, we picked up in the second quarter. And like you said, went on a 22-5 run, picked up our defense.
This building, it seems like, is fairly dead today. I'm not sure why, but what's the energy like on the court?
I mean, honestly, it's all about our energy and what we have to do. We got to figure it out, going into halftime and then coming out. I'm pretty sure we'll come out with the energy we need necessary to put this game away.
Good luck in the second half.
And the United States in possession to start the third quarter. Fran, the guards actually carrying more of the load than the bigs, Faried and Davis, so far in this ball game.
Mike Fratello did a good job early of trying to double team in the low post, forcing Team USA to play from the perimeter. And despite the 12-point lead for Team USA, it was actually pretty good strategy, because the pace of this game favored the Ukraine in the first half.
James Harden picking up the foul. That'll be his second, first of the third quarter.
Team USA, Mark, did not shoot the ball well from behind the arc early in this tournament. Only 33%. And so Mike Krzyzewski just taking a calculated risk. And Team USA 3 for 7 so far.
Jeter against Fareed, way out defending, missing, and Davis has the board.
Yeah, Jeter's had a tough day for the Ukraine. He's got to make those shots for them to stay in this game.
He's 2 for 6 so far this afternoon. Was their high score and leading assist man, 16 points, almost 6 assists per game, as Harden got caught up with Jeter there, and he'll pick up his 3rd personal.
You know, you don't want to read too much into. I've been watching Team USA for a lot of years now. You don't want to read too much into the scores, but I keep talking about the process, and really in terms of the half-court offense, there's not really a lot of continuity and flow. It's really pretty much one-on-one plays. Now, that time a drive and a kick and a dump off, breaking the defense down. Love to see more of that, but in order to get that particular play against the best teams in this tournament, it's going to require side-to-side movement of the defense. And now you attack, draw a 2nd or 3rd defender, and you can dump it off like that.
Not a lot of time to practice in the preliminary round. Mainly been shoot-arounds before the games. Did not practice on Monday on the lone off day. There will be a practice tomorrow in Barcelona in advance of their game. And they'll continue on as Kornienko found some pressure.
It's one thing you can count on in pool play is Anthony Davis protecting the basket.
Crane trying to run the floor. Jeter thought about spotting up. Pass. Kratzov gets through Davis, pumps, goes other side and scores.
Slava's had a good, solid performance today. Again, he's a free agent looking for a home, whether it's in Europe or in the NBA.
10 points for Kratzov. Here's Curry, quick stroke 3, knocks it down. And now the first player in double figures for the Americans, Steph Curry with 11. Curry 11, Harden 8, Kyrie Irving 7 points. Alexander Lipovy against Kenneth Fareed, doing a lot of his defending on the perimeter. And a foul against Fareed on the floor. Number 2 on Kenneth Fareed.
In a tournament like this, Kenneth Fareed could guard. He could guard 5 spots, really. There are probably very few point guards that he couldn't guard in this tournament. He moves his feet really well.
Kratzov turns it over there, trying to go for the spin move on Davis. 9th turnover on Ukraine.
Watch Davis now. He's just going to hold his ground, and Kratzov really nowhere to go.
United States trailed by 5 after 1 quarter, scored only 14 first quarter points. Extended run in the second to open it up. Bob Holtzman was right at halftime. Very dead atmosphere inside the Vizcaya Arena, in stark contrast to the first game when Finland and New Zealand went at it. And of course, Finland has brought so many fans from their nation, and it was a tied game going into the final seconds. I think a lot of the crowd wants to be oohed and awed by Team USA, and they're just not getting that play in the preliminary round.
I got to tell you about something interesting that I saw on my Twitter at halftime. We'll get into it's a tweet from Goran Dragic, and
we're going to talk about that tweet from Goran Dragic coming up in a moment. Timeout off the Harden. 7 minutes to go in the third. Before that timeout, Fred Frischel, we talked about something Goran Dragic had put out on Twitter a short time ago.
Yes, he said basketball is a beautiful game. There is no room for fixing the game like today. Australia versus Angola. FIBA should do something about that. And he was alluding to the fact that Australia basically rested their best players in the second half today against Angola. And that puts the onus on Lithuania to try to win the tournament. Australia is trying to stay out of the second spot in Group D, so they would not have to see Team USA until the semifinal match.
Mitro Zaverchenko with the three-pointer. Now, by losing that game, they also put themselves in position to finish second if Lithuania loses tonight, but they have given Lithuania incentive to win the group.
That's right.
And Slovenia would end up in second place.
If Australia would have been 4-1, I can almost guarantee you that Lithuania would not have wanted to win their game with Slovenia tonight. And you'll take a look at it here. It's still a little mumble jumbo, a lot of explaining to do, but by virtue of Australia losing today, they've now put the onus on Lithuania to try to go ahead and win Pool D by beating Slovenia, and that would drop Australia to 3rd place because they've already lost to Slovenia. So lots of gamesmanship going on because these teams would love to win a medal, even if they can't beat Spain or Team USA. They realize they're all playing really, in many ways, for 3rd place right now.
And just to give some more background, they do not reseed in this tournament. So once the final 16 are there, as Farid knocks it out of play, but right to Jeter, beating the shot clock for the triple.
It's a big shot for Jeter. We talked about him struggling a little bit, and the reason he's struggling is because he has to take shots. You know, he's really the only breakdown player that Ukraine has on its team.
Here's Harden from straight on. So just to finish that thought is if you finish in 1st or 3rd place in Group D, as Harden gets the steal, the contact, and the basket, he'll go to the line. 1st and 3rd guarantees you will not see the opposite group in your half, the United States, until the semis as opposed to the quarters. So that's why it's such a big deal not to finish in 2nd.
And on the other side of the bracket, Greece and Argentina will play today. And that's straight up. The winner finishes 1st. The loser finishes 2nd. So there's going to be a lot at stake as Harden scores in that game because the winner stays away from Spain until the semifinals.
It's a mirror image from the top half with Spain and the bottom half of the tournament with the United States. Harden can't complete the 3, but the offensive board, skip pass to Rose. And it knocked out of bounds. It'll stay United States ball. And a reminder, FIBA World Cup round of 16 action. It's going to tip off on Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern, ESPN2. The United States will face either Mexico or Angola. All games available live on ESPN3 and the Watch ESPN app. Here's Harden off the feed scoring. He's got 13 points.
And just to give you an update, Mexico is leading Korea by 19 at the end of the 3rd quarter. So barring a miraculous comeback, Team USA will play Mexico.
Pass inside to the big man, Slava Kravtsov for the score. He's got 12.
Listen, I wouldn't put it past, and listen, I'm going to say it. I wouldn't put it past Coach K for him to coast into this 4th quarter and not beat Ukraine by 40 or 50. Just to do a favor for a friend.
I was going to say.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, and they're going to win this game. They could win it. They could really pretty much name their score. Who knows? Maybe Coach K is following what's going on internationally in the news. But
there's a nice feed. Kravtsov with the basket.
That looked like the Australia defense we saw this morning.
That's right.
In the 2nd half. I thought that Angola was playing the Washington Generals in the 2nd half today. That was, in many ways, it is disgraceful, but it's the way pool play is set up, and everybody is trying to finish as high as they can in the tournament. Pool play wins really don't mean anything. Nice look there by Jeter. Kravtsov's had a nice performance today.
Well, it's unfortunate in that, it's a way to get around the system. That's the way it is, and the way you have to think on some levels in case, when this tournament goes to 32, perhaps it'll be reseeded, or who knows, or you'll cross over with different groups. So, that's the way to get around it. I will say this, though. I did not go to Harvard like your son.
Sure.
And I've sat here for a couple hours trying, anyone who went to school with me knows that, the smoke coming out of my ears trying to figure it out.
Well, and, the interesting thing about goal average is you really can't figure it out until you get a final score.
Correct. It's not a simple plus-minus.
It's not a simple plus-minus. It's going to have a lot to do with,
For example, if New Zealand had lost the game to Finland. Remember, the United States beat Finland by 59. So Ukraine was pulling hard for Finland to win that game.
But I think, Mark, if I may, I think goal average is only going to be between the teams that have played each other.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
If it's a 3-way tie.
Exactly.
See, again, smoke coming out of my ears.
No, I know. Listen, I've read this, I went to Brooklyn College, and I got a good education there, but I didn't take a lot of math.
There's that update on the Mexico-Korea score from Gran Canaria. Late 3rd, Mexico win. They will face the United States Saturday. 10 a.m. Eastern. That's the easy part. United States already has clinched Group C. And Pujetter knocking down a triple on a day he has struggled from outside. And Sergei Gladier cheering on his teammates.
And that was a bad ankle sprain. And if Ukraine does manage to move on, interesting to see if he can come back.
Cousins hit by Lipovi, will pick up his second foul.
Pujetter, who's an outstanding player for the Portland Pilots in the WCC. We mentioned he's been around the world playing in numerous countries. Played with this guy, as you mentioned, as rookies, although they're a little different age back then.
Yeah, I think Jeter might have already been in a couple of European teams. He had been to the Ukraine.
Oh, yeah, but
his NBA rookie season.
Yes, NBA
and DeMarcus' first year out of Kentucky.
Yep.
They worked together in Sacramento and apparently still stay in touch.
Yeah, Pooh was in 5 NBA summer leagues. And now he's at the stage of his career, really, that it makes no sense for him to be a backup, an NBA backup, when he's making great money in China and there's a lot of perks. And you don't have to give the government as much of your money.
And he's really enjoying playing for Ukraine as well. He'll shake and bake over Rudy
How about
Gay.
that?
That's a deep 2 and 12 points for Pujetter.
Heating up right now.
Harden trying to answer. Blocked by Kravtsov, out of bounds. It'll stay with the United States.
You know, unlike the U.S., these guys started training camp on July 15th, and they've been in Kiev, they've been in Lithuania, they've been in France, they've been in Slovenia, and came to Spain and played a couple of friendly matches. So they have been together a long time, and this would be a great accomplishment if they were able to get out of pool play.
Contact and the basket for James Harden. Will head back to the line. 15 for James Harden, having one of his biggest games of the preliminary round.
You always sense with this team USA that when they do get to crunch time in a close game, if in fact there is one, that it'll be James Harden with the ball in his hands. You mentioned how good a manufacturer he is of not only his own shot, but averaged 5 assists a game last year. He plays in high pick and roll so much for Kevin McHale that he's really one of the best pick and roll players in the NBA. Quick move.
There's Cousins, not able to score. By the way, Pujetter bringing the ball up the floor. That was his 4th foul. So Mike Fratello sticking with him as Jeter gets the foul. United States has some foul to give here late in the quarter. Derrick Rose got called there. A reminder, the NASCAR season comes down to Richmond. The drivers have one more shot to lock up a spot in the all-new Chase. 43 drivers battle, 16 advance, 1 race to go. The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at Richmond, presented by AutoZone. Now, also on this Ukrainian squad, a guy I've been working on pronunciation all night long, Sviatoslav Mikhailuk.
He has just entered the game.
Number 7 in white in the opposite corner.
Yep, being guarded by Klay Thompson right now. He's only 17 years old. He turned 17 in June, and he's going to play for Bill Self this year. He's going to get back just in time for Kansas's Hell Week, which is their conditioning program. He'll love that.
And there's Rudy Gay getting hit on his way up to the bucket. Mikhailuk bringing it up for Ukraine.
Sviatoslav Mikhailuk.
Ooh, already Hell Week as he turns it over behind the back, and Harden finishes.
Yep. Mikhailuk's one of the best young players in Europe, and he came onto the scene this year in the States. He was a late addition to the international team in the Nike Hoop Summit, and a bunch of schools had been on him a little bit, but Kansas jumped into the fray, and hard to turn down Bill Self and all that great tradition.
Cousins on a great feed from Rose scoring. I know Dario Saric is probably the #1 international rated right now. Where is Mikhailuk?
Well, he's just a baby.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, he'll turn 18 next June. He'll be one. He almost can't. Well, that's not him, but he's one of the youngest players in major college basketball this year, if not the youngest.
He won't turn 18 till October. Was it?
Well,
I got to double check that.
Yeah.
one.
No, it may be October.
I thought it had him in the fall.
But he is 17. Nice jump hook right there.
Zaitsev, Ihor Zaitsev, 6'8" forward. Ukraine, say only down 16, because that could come into play when they're figuring out Who else is getting out of Group C? Rose into a triple team. Gets his own rebound and high off the window missed. That's what we haven't seen from Derek. That secondary explosion a couple times yesterday going at the rim. Didn't quite have to lift.
Hadn't finished quite as well.
Yeah. Good to see on the third straight day of action. Take a look at Derek in action. Derrick Rose will bring it up the floor in the final 30 seconds of the third quarter. Harden the lob, and Davis there to put it off the glass.
And they just went two-man game on the side. There wasn't any defensive rotation from the weak side, and Harden and Davis have developed some nice chemistry in that pick and roll game. He and Fareed as well.
Final shot of the third quarter to Ukraine. They'll have to inbound as Thompson knocks it out of bounds. U.S. had a perfect run through the 2010 FIBA World Championship in Turkey.
Minus that scare to Brazil.
Did have the scare.
In pool play, 2-point win.
Good use of the foul to give by Anthony Davis. That's number 3 on Davis.
I think he did that on purpose, although Natyasko is not Dwight Howard in there.
Inbound out to Zaitsev. A little running three off the glass and in. That's big 3 points for Ukraine as we look toward tiebreak. James Harden with 17. U.S. headed to the fourth quarter with a 69-54 lead. Their final 10 minutes in Bilbao, Spain. Will be headed to Barcelona for the round of 16 beginning on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. However, will the Ukraine be heading to Barcelona as well as they load up? Kirill Natyasko, hook shot, hard off the glass.
Well, that's a reason not to foul Natyasko right there. No offense, he's played hard today.
Thompson on the drive, cut off. Rudy Gay, nice move inside and finishing as well.
Quick jump by Rudy Gay. Good drive to the hoop.
So here's the deal for Ukraine. Assuming they lose, would drop to 2-3. Turkey and the Dominican Republic go head-to-head. So obviously one will be 3-2, the other will be 2-3. Off the steal, Davis. Oh, a nice right-hand jam. That's what the crowd's been waiting for. We'll go through more of the Group C permutations. Early timeout, largest lead of the day. Off the quick timeout to start the fourth quarter. Anthony Davis had a big dunk, 73-54. And the timeout certainly for Mike Fratello to remind his team, we want to keep it as close as possible. As we were talking in Group C, the winner of Turkey, Dominican Republic is going to finish in second place at 3-2. So the loser will be 2-3. Ukraine would drop to 2-3. New Zealand won earlier today on this floor, so they would be 2-3. So you'd have a 3-way tie for those third and fourth positions.
And they've all played each other, all ended up 1-1. And I think that Ukraine might come out on the short end point-wise based on an 11-point loss to New Zealand. That was the biggest blowout of the 3.
And another block on the end line, but they'll rule out of bounds. Last touch by Anthony Davis. So there's a look at the Group C standings. We told you Turkey, Dominican Republic still to come later in Bilbao. Ukraine assuming the loss, and New Zealand, which had started 0-3. When the Kiwis won that game, we were listening in on that huddle. They think they're going to Barcelona, so they might have done the same math you did. Ukraine might end up on the short end, but a lot of mathematics to do once it's all said and done.
And it changes if we throw Dominican Republic in there instead of Turkey.
Right,
if Turkey wins. So
it's going to take a few more hours, another result to come as Steph Curry gets called for the foul.
You know, the Ukraine beat the Dominican Republic by 10. So they're probably going to be pulling for Turkey today.
Someone's going to be very disappointed. I know Ukraine's been a big story. New Zealand would also be, considering they had Turkey on the ropes on Saturday when this tournament started. Up
right,
12.
Now you're filling my head. Now you're filling my head with
facts you don't need to know. Mashula with a 3. Alexander Mashula.
He's had a good tournament. He had 18 and a 19 in that win over Turkey, and he has had to provide some scoring punch without Sergei Gladier.
Skate tried to penetrate and feed. Pujetter playing with 4 fouls brings it up the floor. A bad pass and nearly stolen by Derrick Rose, reading that one easily.
That ball had a little too much helium in it.
Nice play, and I'm sure fans in Chicagoland and Bulls fans all across are saying, just don't get hurt. But you know, these guys know one way to play, and they give it all when they're on the floor. Natiasko, nice ball fake and score for the big man. Kirill Natiasko, he's got 6.
Mentioned he played for Sean Miller. He left before his senior year to turn pro.
Nice easy feed from Thompson to Davis. 12 points for Anthony Davis this afternoon.
Well, Team USA will play Saturday, and then they'll have 2 days off, which will really come in handy. And if they advance to Madrid, they will play, I believe, on Thursday of next week. So Friday will be their travel day.
Correct.
And
then Saturday to practice in Madrid.
That's right. The second semifinal will be on Friday. So in a sense, Team USA has an extra day off, but it's also a travel day.
Correct. And there's a nice job by FIBA to do that, because in past you haven't had 2 different cities.
Well, and they're chartering, Mark.
They are chartering.
They may leave right after their game on Thursday.
But on the Spanish half of the draw, they don't have to leave Madrid after they arrive. As Klay Thompson knocks down a 3. And whoever comes out of Barcelona will have to make the short trip to Madrid.
Thompson and Curry looking way more comfortable as the tournament goes on. Those guys combined for almost 500 threes during their NBA season.
Banging and scoring is Alexander Lipovic. You've been more impressed with the Harden, Thompson, and Curry today? With a foul underneath.
Well, and you know, we've complimented Kyrie Irving as well, who has had I think a pretty solid tournament. But yes, because we know, we're putting our thinking caps on. We know that Fareed and Davis aren't necessarily going to dominate that Spanish front line. They'll play well. They've proven that. But Team USA is going to need a balanced effort from that entire rotation of 8 or 9 or whatever Coach K chooses to use. And we also know that history tells us that when Harden, Curry, and Thompson are in a flow offensively, that they're very difficult to guard. So it's now, as we've said from the very start of pool play, it's about chemistry and continuity, if not fancy plays. There's no time for fancy, tricky plays. You'd rather have tricky players.
Marcus Cousins hitting 1 of 2. Ihor Zaitsev picked up the foul prior, his second. 6:40 to go. Jeter on the floor. Tipped away loose, and it'll stay with Ukraine. And we talked about Pujetter on this team, and when he played in Ukraine, meeting Alexander Volkov. He also, before he had gone away, he was in the D League when he was first undrafted. That's where he met Joe Wolf, apparently, and those ties are all together.
Yeah. Pujetter is one of those basketball lifers that the average fan has never heard of. But when his career is over in 5 or 7 years, he's going to have a fulfilling career. He'll have a nice bank account. He'll live a good life. And he'll explain to people that he was a professional basketball player, but only played 1 year in the NBA. You know who's having a resurgence of his career is Stephon Marbury.
In China, right?
Is like the Michael Jordan of China. And he really is. Yeah, he's still going strong and still having a very productive career both on and off the court.
Well, a lot of times for American basketball fans, especially casual fans, if you're not in the NBA, you're almost not playing basketball. And there's some good leagues out there. We've talked about the ACB in Spain, the Bundesliga, right, in Germany.
There's so many college.
Italian league, Serie A.
So many guys that played in college that have stayed in Europe or China for 5 to 10 years, that have become household names, that make a good living. And oftentimes, and Keith Langford's a great example of this, the former Kansas star. He's been offered a number of NBA veteran contracts, but he cannot afford to come back to the United States because he makes 2 million euros a year. And that's, with the exchange rate, a lot of money.
That's more than $2 million. We're keeping an eye on that Mexico-Korea game for you. Korea's within 10 with a minute and a half to go. Mexico, a win would get them 4th place in Group D to face the United States next. Otherwise, Angola would be in position. Nice feed from Cousins to Fareed. Big to big for the score.
You know, the other thing about Americans playing overseas is the guys that adapt to the other cultures, the guys that were good guys when they were in college, they tend to have a easier transition. They're not looking for every McDonald's or Starbucks for their, you know, caramel frappuccinos. If you adapt to another country's culture, whether you're in Spain or China, which is not easy, by the way, you know, Italy, France, you tend to have more success as opposed to, you know, thinking about how often you're going to get home. With Skype and the internet now, these guys manage to stay close to home and make a great living, and Pujetta is in that category.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the Skype on a steal by Kyrie Irving, who's going to take it all the way down for the stuff. You know, those of us who go on vacations overseas, you know how difficult it could be, and you're all together. These guys have to go singularly. More on that. 4:57 to go. Timeout in Bilbao. Winding down pool play at Vizcaya Arena. Team USA with an 85-64 lead over Ukraine. 4:57 to go. Team USA will be making the short trip east to Barcelona from the Bay of Biscay. Will be headed to the Mediterranean to set up shop in Barcelona.
Few better countries in the world than that city. Great people, great spots, tourism, sight lines. Beautiful cathedrals. Of course, FC Barcelona Stadium.
Yes. Great little stadium. Off another turnover.
Great little stadium of 100,000 plus.
That'll get the fans going. Yep. Flying slam by the Manimal.
Fareed just wants to make sure that even though he hadn't had the same impact on this game as he has had on first 4 pool play games, that he can turn that energy on. Been a great tournament for him so far.
Getter driving underneath, turns and shoots. Comes right to Irving. Rosen finding Irving, looking for Cousins. Gets him over Kropsov. Not there, but Fareed is from the weak side.
Right on cue. You know, we said it yesterday, we've repeated this, but he treats missed shots like passes to himself. That's the kind of mindset a great offensive rebounder has to have. The more you go to the rim on a shot, whether it's missed or made, the more offensive rebounds you're going to get. Now watch him start. He starts heading to the rim. There's no block out, obviously, but he smells the miss and he cleans up the mess.
10 points, 8 boards for Fareed. Boogie Cousins getting a nice hand as he comes out. Andre Drummond will get some runs. 6 American players in double figures, all 5 starters. And with 3:46 to go, the United States cruising on its way toward a 5-0 mark in pool play. So the top team from Group C, which will be the United States, will get the last qualifier from Group D. And just going final, Mexico with a win. So we could start talking about the U.S. and Mexico in the round of 16 on Saturday.
And round of 16 now, everything becomes a knockout round. Everything becomes the 7th game of the NBA playoffs. It becomes an NCAA tournament game. Is that Gladier coming in?
Yeah, looks like Gladier's going to
maybe try to run up and down a little bit and get ready.
And it's Farid putting on a little show for those in Bilbao.
And I don't want to confuse anybody, Mark, because we got it wrong the first time, but the goal average will be between the 3 teams that finish 2 and 3 in Pool C.
Right, not the entire pool.
That's exactly
just the 3.
right. Because it looks to me right now that all 3 teams will be 1-1
on their head-to-head. Yep.
And so there you see the Mexico score. Now Mexico, by and large, is a team made up of American players who have Mexican ancestry. A lot of the guys not necessarily familiar, but most everybody's played college basketball. Jorge Gutierrez, of course, played for Mike Montgomery. He now plays for the Brooklyn Nets. Orlando Mendez Valdez played at Western Kentucky. It's a group of guys that have played a lot in college. Ramon Martinez, who starred for New Mexico, the Lobos, who's from El Paso. He plays on the Mexican national team.
Now he'll be playing for Old Mexico against the United States in the first knockout round game coming up on Saturday. Here's Jeter, little step back miss.
I said Ramon, I meant Ramon Martinez, who played his high school basketball in El Paso before playing for Steve Alford.
DeMar DeRozan in and out. Now every point counts for Ukraine on the lob for the rim. Mikhailuk not able to finish there.
These are valuable minutes for the young guy. He's going to have an adjustment at Kansas because he's so young. And he's going to miss a lot of the summer. Oh, he's missed all the summer, but I expect him to be a good role player for Bill Self this year and watch his career take off.
A reminder, FIBA World Cup round of 16 is going to tip off Saturday. It'll be the United States against their border friends from the south, Mexico. 10 a.m. Eastern time. All games available live on ESPN3 and the Watch ESPN app. So on ESPN2 Saturday 10 Eastern, USA versus Mexico. That'll be just the start of it because Mexico has 4th place in Group D, and there's now so much talk about who'll finish 1st, 2nd, and 3rd at the top of Group D. Lithuania and Slovenia still to come tonight, and the winner of that game will win the group. If Slovenia loses, they can end up 2nd, pushing Australia to the coveted 3rd spot.
That's why Goran Dragic tweeted out his displeasure with Australia essentially, putting on a Washington Generals-like performance today. In that game, Yannick Moreira from Angola ended up with 38 points and 15 rebounds, and he wasn't seeing Aaron Baines and some of the size that Australia can throw out there, but he'll be a senior for Larry Brown this year at SMU and was a junior college All-American a year ago. He had a up and down junior year due to injuries, but that's just another guy that Larry Brown can count on as he builds that Mustang program into a national contender.
It's a great season last year in Fort Worth.
In Dallas.
In Dallas, sorry.
Yeah. Now you're talking my
Big
neighborhood.
crowd. You're going to correct me there when we get to North Texas. But just the great crowd. It was a place to be.
Oh, yeah, it really was.
Former president showing up.
Quarterbacks of the Cowboys. Yeah. John Saunders made a couple of appearances there.
Bigger than all the guys we've just been talking about.
Yeah.
Wet spot on the floor. Delay. And United States getting set to head to Barcelona after the completion here, but another steal. Ball tipped in the air. Plumlee the save, and the U.S. can set up. Under 2 minutes left. DeRozan gets the contact. Can't get the roll. He'll head to the line for 2 free throws with 1:49 left.
NBA players, if you're a young player at home watching, although you should be in school, they are so good at driving, and then if there's any contact, they just yell. Hey!
Now, I remember when I was in school, there was a class where I was in audio-visual class, and our job was to tape games like these. So I hope there's a student somewhere.
Yeah, or you've got TiVo.
That's right.
But really, they're good at that. Contact, yell and scream.
Sell the call.
And they sell the call very well.
Derrick Rose wrapping up. I'm going to call it successful. 5 games in 6 days, able to answer the bell for all 5.
We're as tired of talking about him as he is answering those questions.
And he's going to get them in Barcelona, and then he's going to get them when the Bulls open up training camp.
It's all a process for his return.
Oh, yeah, and then opening night, he'll get Christmas Day.
That's going to be a good Bulls team this year. One of the co-favorites in the East. You look at who they've added. Pau Gasol, by the way, is having a great tournament. I'd say Fareed, Anthony Davis, Pau Gasol right now. Leading candidates for MVP.
It's going to be fun to see how the East all comes together this year. We'll see what Miami does with no LeBron, getting Bosh back. Plumlee trying to force it inside, and Kyrie Irving is down on the floor on the baseline, writhing in some pain. Not what anyone around USA basketball wants to see with 1:12 to go in the preliminary round.
And this is a dilemma.
Not sure if someone fell on him. And Kyrie Irving seems to be in some
medical staff is out there right away.
Hey, it's a big year coming up in Cleveland as well, and that's all in the minds of everyone. Not only with Team USA heading to Barcelona and beyond, but with LeBron James and Kevin Love headed to Cleveland. Let's take a look at exactly what happened.
Yeah, I think he lands on his hip right here.
Oh.
There you see it.
I don't know if he felt Mikhail Luke might have extended the leg or not, but it looked just.
No, it's just body contact at the rim, really. And he, you know, he plays fearlessly, and we've talked about how he gets to the rim at will, and that time he just got himself caught on the contact, wasn't able to brace, and came down and landed on that hip.
Reaching back toward that left side as he walks off. Something to keep our eyes on in the next couple of days. And a loose ball foul up top. Nope. Going to reset the clock. Ball hit the foot.
Well, they're not going to have much trouble with Mexico. So obviously, if this is a day-to-day thing, you see Mason Plumlee. The Spanish fans in the arena will appreciate that little soccer move right there.
Mikhail Luke will line one up and knocks one down from the left side.
That may be a common occurrence in time in Allen Fieldhouse. You know, it's hard to measure him versus best players in the world, but he is one of the best young players in Europe, and he will not be overmatched in the Big 12. But I think there'll be a little bit of a learning process getting to campus, and he's got to catch up on his academic work. His English is great, by the way, and his mom and dad are teachers.
Well, Plumlee here in the final seconds, offensive board and stuff. Well, they got some rebuilding to do. No Joel Embiid, Andrew Wiggins, both went in the top 3.
They don't rebuild in Kansas.
They reload?
No, they're not rebuilding this year.
They had a good draft.
They had a good draft, and they'll have another good draft. They've got some excellent players.
Well, the United States 10 seconds away from putting the wraps on another 5-0 preliminary round. And a late basket from Ihor Zaitsev.
That score looks so much better with Ukraine at 71 than 68. If you're Mike Krzyzewski, they played as well as they could. They controlled the tempo of the game. It was good for them. Coach K got a chance to play a lot of people. You see right in the middle of your screen, that's the big guy in the Ukrainian shirt. That's Alexander Volkov, very pleased with his country's performance today, Mark. Team USA moves on.
They do move on. Fran and I will have some final thoughts coming up. The United States with the win. United States perfect pool play. They beat Ukraine 95-71. Ukraine hoping to make the round of 16. We know the United States has advanced and will be heading to Barcelona. How'd they get it done today against the Ukraine, Fran?
Well, a lot of good guard play. Mike Fratello came out with a strategy to try to bottle up the inside, and that opened up the floor for Team USA's guards. Hit some threes, got to the rim very well. You know, they treated this like an NBA exhibition game in October, and that's not demeaning to Ukraine at all. It's just the way it was. Nobody got seriously hurt, although Kyrie Irving fell down at the end. Hopefully he'll be okay. But there you see the standings now. One more game left. Turkey, Dominican Republic. The winner automatically qualifies because they'll be at 3-2. Number of teams would be 2 and 3. It would go to tiebreak, being who beat who. If it's 1-1 between the 3 teams, they go to a goals average, and we will not know that until that final game is played.
And, of course, the United States, we know, in Barcelona, their next game, round of 16, they will get Mexico. We'll have that one for you here on ESPN2, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Once again, final score, the United States 95, Ukraine 71, James Harden 17 points to lead the way. Coming up next, Sports Center. For Fran Fraschilla, I'm Mark Kestisher. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.